Now let's go live to Luthuli House, where chairperson of the ANC NEC subcommittee on the communications, Comrade Jackson Mthembu, is briefing the media.
Should be using Twitter, because in many ways you could argue that that's communicating outside of ANC structures. And when you engage certain ANC members on their use of Twitter, they argue that, well, Twitter's not real life and you can have fun on Twitter, when that's inherently not the case.
Thank you. Number 5, the last one, Eldrin.
Okay, Eldrin Sampi again from SABC TV News. On digital migration, there were various deadlines. Post the NGC as well, there was a deadline that said you personally had a fallout with the Minister of Communications. And for instance, if you look at the organizational renewal document, and it makes the proposal that when leaders fail to implement ANC policy, there must be repercussions. And then the question is, at the moment, doesn't this committee feel that there should be repercussions in terms of the failure to ensure that digital migration is already realized holistically across the country? And Mr. Mthembu, I understand that you say that we can't speak about current affairs issues at this point, but I just want you to take us into your confidence that you would understand what the country is currently going through, the despair that the country is currently going through. Even ANC members, for that matter, what they're going through. For the first time, did I see the ANC's members of the ANC's top 6 speak out against what the president has done so vocally, even yourself as the ANC chief whip. What would your message be to South Africans right now, and what would your message be to ANC members? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Comrade Jackson.
Maybe before I come, I think I will come to close. Why don't we give comrades just to respond on some of the issues that have been raised? I'll come then close the discussion.
Thanks, Comrade Chair. Maybe let me start on the question raised by Times Media of examples. I think you just go Google under the Press Council's website, just Google apologies. You'll see about 2 pages of rulings on apologies. This is rulings, not necessarily complaints. And this is not necessarily the ones that media immediately after publishing today, tomorrow apologizes in a corner in the next page without even a complaint. So those are the examples. I think the question on delays on DTT, I think let's appreciate that there has been quite a number of contributing factors, including disputes within the industry itself. So I think it's not necessarily just one person to blame for the delays on the meeting of deadlines on DTT. The other question on defamations, I think what you're saying in the document, let's have a conversation on whether the current defamation laws enable citizens to be able to achieve corrective when they have been wronged. It's a question of engaging in respect of that law, whether it enables an ordinary citizen and whether the processes thereof. So it's a question of having that conversation. It's not necessarily to say the law is, it's not necessarily to say let's criminalize or not criminalize, but let's engage and be able to come with the right enabling process that will ensure that ordinary citizens are having their rights as well as those who have the means to take on anyone who defames them. Thank you. I think I'll leave the others to the team.
Oh, Joe, open. All right. Colleagues, friends, and compatriots, I have no knowledge of why I'm asked this difficult question. why certain ministers are still there. I think there's only one person who can answer that question. I think I can give you the address and email to the President's office. I don't have the responsibility to appoint and disappoint. That is the responsibility that resides with the President of the Republic, of course in consultation with the leadership of the ANC. So I can't answer that question. Why have we not paid attention to the ownership? I think well, it's not only ownership, it's control, it's even the management in the media. We are saying not only that, by the way, there's something that we have not said. How many of these media offerings, print media offerings, are in our indigenous languages? So for you to access information in our country, to access City Press, access, I know that there were attempts, I don't know why they were stopped, even Sunday Times and whatever. You must then know English. So therefore, there are so many things that we talk to when we talk transformation. We must do more. We must have a lot of our people who can read even in their own languages, having access to print media instruments or papers in their, in fact in this country there are only 2 in African languages. It's Isolezwe and Ilan. Now, very, very, very regrettable. If we don't do justice to this, people who are speaking Shivenda, and there are so many of them, people who are speaking Shichonga, people who are speaking Ndebele, Siswati, all our wonderful languages in our country. How do we ensure that media, print media, is able to offer? And this is something, of course, others say that, what about print media that is on its deathbed? Well, we are not sure. Print media is still the most media that basically sets the news trends, whether in the broadcasting, the radio. You can ask those who are working in television and radio. They also look at, now of course, with tweets that are also in the offerings. Social media also creates those trends on what is newsworthy and not newsworthy. But these newspapers do. They do. So we therefore need to have these newspapers not only reflecting on being reflective, ownership and control, being reflective of South African society, but also being able to channel and give us news in all our languages. It's something that we'll have to do. And we must have the necessary funding framework. Your funding framework, as we speak now, does not make this possible. We have said we have a media policy of the ANC, media and communication policy that we are finalizing now. And I would not like to speak to it. When it is finalized, when it has gone through the structures of the ANC, we will then speak to you about such a media communication policy of the ANC, which will obviously reflect on all of us as ANC members. Whether we are using Twitter, whether we are using Instagram, whether we are using Facebook, or whether we are even speaking to you wherever, what should be fundamental in what we say? And again, that's not gagging anybody. But any ANC person who speaks anywhere should be speaking on the basis of the values and the principles that the ANC stands for. So that's the long and short of it. But we are busy with that issue. I think defamation laws have been spoken to. Comrade Rompo has spoken on our failure to meet deadlines. But again, we can't be sitting comfortably with all those failures. Immaterial, what made us to fail to meet those deadlines of migrating to digital broadcasting. We can't be sitting, we are not comfortable. We are saying if we can move with speed to digital, the better. What are we saying to people there in South Africa on current issues? We have a leadership. And we are quite confident and convinced that the leadership of the African National Congress will be able to deal with what confronts us. I call it a crisis, others might call it something else. But the crisis that confronts us today, the leadership of the African National Congress will be able to deal decisively with this crisis. And that's the ANC I belong to. That the ANC I know, and indeed the ANC does not duck from difficult questions. These are difficult questions, I can assure you. The leadership of the ANC will be able to deal with these matters. We have a National Working Committee that is meeting tomorrow. You also have probably an NSC that will come. We will be able to deal with these issues and give leadership. And that's what the people of South Africa expect. They expect leadership from us as the African National Congress on the current matters that have afflicted the South African society. So that is my message to South Africans. We will deal with this matter. Indeed, it's a matter that is of importance. It is on the agenda of the leadership structures of the African National Congress. I am part of those structures. I can't therefore venture an opinion until I will venture my opinion in that structure of the ANC. In that structure, if you are invited, rest assured my opinion will be there. But I can't venture an opinion when the structure I belong to, NWC and NSC, has not met. I'll only venture an opinion when those structures have met. And I'm quite convinced that they will meet and deal with the crisis facing South Africa today. Thank you very much.